mentioned the float and fly. Let's talk about three techniques for catching a quick limit at Shasta. And for people that don't know, a lot of times you could go out and catch a limit your first stop because it's just that good. But let's talk about three techniques for catching a quick limit, and then talk about a technique for upgrading.
I would say if you wanted to catch a quick limit, you could probably throw a weightless Cinco or a Nico rig Cinco or a bait of some sort.
Ned rig, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Ned rig. Yeah, something like that. You're going to catch a quick limit. I would, typically any point, any kind of rock seam, anything like that, you should be able to run a couple of those and you should be able to catch you a limit off them fairly quickly. Or a drop shot. I'm not a big fan of drop shotting at Shasta. I don't feel like you're targeting the fish that you need to there. I've caught some key fish on it, but I would say, something like that would get you a quick limit. And then I like to go shallow. I feel like the bigger fish are shallow. I've always done better, targeting the shallower fish. I think that's why the float and fly is so effective. It's just, it is certainly a small profile bait, but it's so subtle and it stays shallow. And those bigger quality fish are shallower, and you can keep that bait, you know, um, in their face a lot longer. And it's become an incredible technique. I mean, when Ryan Friend started winning with it, I'm sure he just cringes every time everyone talks about this bait, but it is a super effective way to catch. And there's a lot to it. I mean, I've been fishing it for the last 3 years and trying my best to get better at it. Like when I went to Don Pedro and I had my keeper count up the second day, it was floating. I was throwing a float and fly. I just feel like I can catch a lot of fish doing it. It just catches fish so effectively and fast.
I was going to actually ask you about that later, but why don't we talk about it right now? What do you use in terms of tackle and setup and presentation? Give us a quick rundown on how you fish a float and fly.
It's very simple. It's people I think that really overcomplicate it. You have your bobber stopper. You got there's about five different bobbers out there. I can't remember the names of all the bobbers, but it's not complicated at all. It's actually a surprisingly super easy technique. I mean, I have my kids doing it because it's
Yeah.
easy. And I just stick to a Spro fly, and I bounce between I think there's two weights on the smaller ones, an 1/8 ounce and a 16th, I think, or something like that. They're pretty light. And, when it gets real calm, I go to a lighter fly, and I adjust the length, anywhere from 12 to 8 feet of leader length. And then you just get your bobber stopper. There's lots of different bobber stoppers. A lot of them come with the bobber stopper. And I mean, an insanely simple technique. It's just doing it, going out, and people get a little. I don't think they realize how far fish will travel to a bait. So, like, you get on a 45-degree water or bank, and you cast up there, and I'll throw it up there and say I got an 8-foot leader. I'll cast it out there until my bobber stands up. I just keep pulling it off till my bobber stands up. And I with live scope, you can see how far these fish will travel. Like they'll it's incredible how far a fish will travel to a bait. I was fishing a big flat, and I was in 20 feet of water. I had a bobber length of, I think, around 10 feet. And I would live scope and I would see a fish, swimming on a flat. I would cast to it. My bobber would hit the water. It would fall, and that fish would come up from 10 feet to a little Spro fly. I mean, they can see that and they can feel it. So people get a little bit, I think, they don't think that those fish are going to be able to come up and find that bait, and they can. It's surprising how well those fish can track those baits. And
You using pretty light line on that?
yeah, 6 pound test typically what I used. And I just, like I said, I just cast it up on the shoreline. I shake it off to where that bobber stands up, shake the bobber a little bit. If I don't get bit, reel it up, cast it, but I'm fishing it fairly fast. And I think if people want to learn that technique, just go out, and it's kind of like swim bait fishing, just kind of go out and just mess with it, and you will certainly get bit. That is a super effective way. Like I've caught, and I'm talking big spotted bass and big largemouth. We've caught 7, 8 pound largemouth and lots of 6 and 7 pound spotted bass because it's so subtle.
Yeah.
It's a little fly that sits right in their face, and they just open their mouth and whoop, and they just every time you got them right in the tip of the lip.
Reason number 10 that your next boat should be a Camus, our trolling motor wedge. Modeled into the cap of our boats is a unique wedge that allows your trolling motor to shoot directly vertical in the water. You won't have to use spacers or other counterbalancing devices because your trolling motor and electronics transducers will sit perfectly balanced on your Camus. Check out this unique Camus-only feature by going to CamusBoats.com. Ducket Fishing's Sway Minnow System. How's your jig head minnow game? Introducing Ducket Fishing's Sway Minnow System. Not just a bait, an entire fishing system. Perfectly balanced jig heads in several fish catching sizes matched up with the most realistic looking winged minnow baits that you've ever seen. With multiple size baits and jig head weights, you'll be able to figure out the perfect presentation. Check out the Ducket Fishing Sway Minnow System by going to ducketfishing.com. I'm Keith Neiswanger. This is the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to reach us, please send us a direct message on Instagram at Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Take care. Be safe. We'll talk to you next time.